Imagine being sentenced to death for a crime you swear you never committed. No one believes you, no one comes to save you, and your final words are simply, "I am innocent." But what if death isn't the end? Because after King Kaew was executed, something terrifying awakened inside that prison. And one by one, everyone connected to her death began facing a horrifying revenge. What makes this story even more disturbing is that King Kaew was a real person, and this movie was inspired by her real-life legend. So was she truly guilty? Or did an innocent woman return from the dead to punish everyone who betrayed her? Let's find out. At the beginning of the movie, we see a lady who was traveling on a train with a package. Suddenly, she starts running inside the train. Then we see a young child. Someone was taking the child somewhere, and the child kept calling out Kaew's name, begging her to save him and stop them. Then we are told that the corpse of a child has been found, who was kidnapped by someone and later killed and buried. The child's kidnapper and killer were caught by the police, and she is given the death penalty by firing squad. After that, now the story moves to 3 months before the criminal's execution, and it was being reported on the radio. The radio says that the kidnapper was the child's nanny, King Kaew. Then we see the child's uncle, Hem. Hem had come to the prison to meet Kaew. From Kaew's reaction, it seems she knew Hem very well. Kaew kept saying that she did not kill Hem's nephew, Won Chai. Then the story goes to 5 months before Kaew's execution. We find out that Kaew used to work in a shop that belonged to Hem's sister, Won. Won would always scold Kaew, and she used to torture her severely. Kaew also had many mental health issues, suffering from depression, mental instability, and anxiety. She kept repeatedly asking Won about her brother, Hem, so Won tells her that Hem is with his wife. Anyway, now Kaew was deeply missing her home and her mother, which made her feel very sad. Because of this, she could not focus on her work, and Won fires Kaew from the job. Then a guy named Pin comes to the shop. He also works at Won's shop. His eyes were set on Won's money. From here, now Pin sees Kaew crying. He goes up to her and asks what happened. So Kaew tells him that Won fired her from work. She says she wants to go back home to her mother. So Pin says that he will drop Kaew off at her home. But he tells her that they will need some money for that, and Pin traps Kaew with his words. With Kaew's help, he gets Won Chai picked up from his school, and Pin's friend, Swam, was also involved in all of this. Just then, now Won finds out that Kaew took Won Chai from school, and Won realizes that Kaew has taken Won Chai. She understands that Kaew has kidnapped him. After this, Pin instructs Kaew to call Won. He tells her to demand ransom money, and Won agrees to give the money to Kaew. Later on, over here, Kaew has absolutely no idea about the trap, and she did not know that the entire blame would fall solely upon her. Meanwhile, despite Kaew explaining everything, Hem does not believe her words. The police arrive to take Kaew away. She just kept repeating that she is innocent and has done nothing. Anyway, then the story goes into the past. We see that the lady on the train at the beginning was Won herself, who had received specific instructions. She was told to sit on the train, and she had to look out for a white flag along the way. She was supposed to throw the money right at that spot. At the start of the movie, Won was running inside the train. This was because she mistook a white cloth on a scarecrow for the flag, so she threw the money right there. Whereas, she was supposed to throw the money a little further ahead, where the actual flag was located. Pin and Swam were standing right next to that flag. Now, because the train had passed, the two of them did not get the money. This makes both of them very angry. On the other side, we see Kaew. She was in a vehicle nearby with Won Chai, and she was taking care of Won Chai. Suddenly, Pin and Swam arrive there, and they start carrying Won Chai away with them. Now, Kaew tells them that Won Chai is her nephew. She tries to stop Pin and Swam, so the two of them knock Kaew unconscious instead. Then, when Kaew regains consciousness, she grabs a weapon. She goes after Pin and Swam. Meanwhile, Won Chai was screaming over here, "Kaew, help me," meaning the child at the beginning was indeed him, Won Chai, and he was telling Pin and Swam to stop. Now, Kaew was pursuing Won Chai's voice, but suddenly, she faints along the way. When her eyes open, she sees that she had tripped while running, and she had hit her head against a rock. Then she sees that Pin and Swam had killed Wanchai, and they had already buried him. A knife was lying right next to Kaew. Now Kaew digs up Wanchai's corpse. She begins to weep loudly. She never wanted this to happen, as she had been betrayed. Just then, the police arrived there as well. This was because Wan had informed them of the location. She told them where she threw the money. Now, searching the area around the tracks, the police reach Kaew. Since all the evidence was against Kaew, the police arrest her and put her in prison. Meaning, this is what actually transpired. Now, because neither him nor anyone else believed Kaew's words, the judge hands down the death penalty to Kaew for Wanchai's kidnapping and murder. This leaves Kaew utterly devastated. If Hem had wanted, he could have saved Kaew. He could have initiated a proper investigation because he himself was a highly skilled lawyer. But when he had come to meet Kaew, he didn't even listen to her side. And today, because of him, Kaew received the death penalty. Whereas, to clear things up for us, the movie shows the truth, and Wanchai was killed and buried by Pin and Swam. And the worst part was what they did to Kaew, because those two had sexually assaulted Kaew after knocking her unconscious. They framed her for Wanchai's kidnapping and murder. Also, Swam cut off some of Kaew's hair to keep with him. He did this so that after Kaew received the death penalty, he could trap her spirit. Meaning, something very wrong was happening here. Anyway, now a full 5 months pass by. Kaew is kept in a special prison. Only those criminals scheduled for execution were held there. One day, the warden suddenly arrives. He tells Kaew to put on new clothes. Kaew thinks that Hem has perhaps gotten her released. So, she becomes overjoyed. But the warden takes her along with him. Kaew finds out that she is to be executed today, and she will be shot by a firing squad. All her happiness instantly vanishes, and her final shred of hope was destroyed. Now, Kaew's case was being broadcast over the radio, and they were talking about her upcoming execution. Hearing this news makes Hem deeply sorrowful. Following this, we see Kaew eating her last meal. All the dishes in her final meal happen to be Hem's absolute favorites. Now after this, we see the executioner there, Phantom. Soon, Kaew is executed. But since Kaew was still breathing, she is shot a second time. And this time, Kaew was finally dead. However, her death occurred during an unusual solar eclipse. This is considered a bad omen in Thai culture, and due to this, Kaew's spirit becomes intensely vengeful. She possesses every single inmate in that prison, and then she launches an attack on the warden and Phantom. She was continuously repeating just one thing, keeping on saying that she is blameless, that she is innocent. Just then, Kaew's spirit endures Phantom, but Phantom somehow manages to escape from there. And he understood perfectly, knowing that the spirit hunting them belonged to Kaew. Now, Kaew wanted to eliminate Phantom because Phantom was the one who shot her. Kaew's spirit now begins to haunt Phantom, but he extracts the bullets from the wooden post. These were the bullets used to kill Kaew. Phantom then begins to chant a mantra. With the help of it, he transforms those bullets into a protective charm. Later on, since Kaew is unable to kill Phantom, she crosses the prison walls to venture outside. She wants to exact her revenge on the others, and a jump scare occurs here. Kaew's spirit suddenly pops up right in front of the camera. Anyway, after this, we see Hem's wife, Mi. She hears a voice calling out from outside the house, and the voice belonged to Kaew. She had come there to take revenge on him. But when Kaew spots me there, she slams the windows shut. This action terrifies me completely. Hearing her voice, Hem arrives at the scene. Mi informs him about the situation, saying a girl had come outside to meet him. When Hem looks outside, Kaew was standing there waiting for him. Seeing Kaew outside makes Hem think that she might have escaped from prison. This prompts him to rush to a drawer to get his gun, only to freeze suddenly. Just then, a phone call arrives from Mi's family home. The call reveals to me some tragic news, showing that her father met with a terrible accident just last night. Mi's father had passed away. Now, when Mi breaks this news to her husband, she notices that Hem was behaving very strangely, acting this way because Kaew's spirit had possessed him. Then, all of a sudden, Hem snaps back to normal and he leaves with Mi to head to her family home. Meanwhile, we see Pin and Swam. They were sitting at the exact spot where they buried Wanchai. Swam was performing a ritual to trap Kaew's spirit, as it is highly possible he already knew that her spirit would return to seek vengeance. However, Kaew's spirit arrives there quickly, appearing before the ritual can be completed. She tears off Swam's scalp, and she brutally beats him to death. Anyway, the next morning, police officers arrive at the scene, and Swam's father, Som, also comes there. Som was actually a special practitioner who practiced both black magic and white magic. He becomes deeply devastated upon seeing his son's mutilated corpse, and he desperately wants to know who killed his boy. So he chants a mantra. Suddenly, his child's spirit returns to the corpse, staying there for a few moments. Swam informs Som about the killer, saying Kaew's spirit was the one who destroyed him. Now after this, we see Pin. He had been possessed by Kaew. A shaman along with a few associates had arrived there, wanting to drive Kaew out of his body. And on a mirror there, Kaew had written a message, once again scrawling, "I am innocent." And because Kaew's spirit was immensely powerful and full of vengeance, the shaman exerts all his strength and somehow manages to free Pin from Kaew's possession. We see Kaew's spirit reflected inside the mirror. Anyway, just then, Pin's pregnant wife walks in. Instead of the shaman and his associates, Pin begins hallucinating Kaew everywhere. So Pin snatches the knife. He takes it right out of the shaman's hand and begins attacking the shaman and his associates. He slits the shaman's throat. Then he repeatedly stabs his own wife using the same knife until she dies. By the time Pin snaps back to reality, it was already far too late. To save his own life, Pin leaps out of the window. He flees the scene immediately, having become his wife's murderer. Now, the police were hot on his trail. This entire situation was meant to mirror exactly what they had done to Kaew. Meanwhile, on the other side, we see Me. She was at her father's funeral. Hem wasn't there with her because he felt sick and had returned home. At the funeral, we discover a shocking truth, learning that Mi's father was the very judge who sentenced Kaew to death. Yes, and it is also revealed to us that Kaew herself caused Mi's father's accident, meaning she was eliminating everyone, killing everyone who had wronged her, one by one. Just then, Som and Phantom also arrive at the funeral, and they disclose everything to me. They explain that, for some reason, Kaew's spirit is targeting them. Her vengeful spirit is after every single person linked to her death. This includes the judge, Pin, Swam, Phantom, Hem, and Wan. By now, her spirit has become incredibly dangerous. He then instructs me to meet him at Som's house along with Hem. Me quickly rushes back home to get Hem. Over there, Kaew was haunting Hem. She was forcing him to relive memories of the past. Through this, we also learn about their past. We find out that Kaew used to be a completely normal girl, and Hem and Kaew loved each other deeply. However, Hem's sister, Wan, did not want this, and she did not want Hem to marry Kaew, which is why Hem listened to Wan, and he planned to move to Bangkok. Wan had already selected a girl there, and this was the girl Hem was supposed to marry. Wan had also suggested something to Hem, saying that keeping Kaew employed at the shop would make her forget him over time. But when Kaew discovered the truth, she found out that Hem had abandoned her and left for Bangkok all by himself. She fell into a deep depression, and her mental stability completely shattered. And that girl was highly likely none other than me, whom Hem eventually married. Anyway, now Kaew's spirit confronts Hem, talking about how terribly he wronged her. She traps him inside a trap of her illusions. Just as Me arrives, Kaew possesses Hem. She approaches Me through Hem's body, but Me slaps him hard. She demands to know why she is doing this, only for us to realize a twist, showing that Kaew's spirit had trapped Me in an illusion as well, before Me suddenly snaps back to reality. She sees the truth, realizing that Hem was merely sitting near his table. But right then, the windows and doors fly open, opening completely on their own. Violent winds begin to howl inside the house, and Kaew starts dragging Hem outside. However, Me grabs a sacred cloth, and she throws it onto the door. This causes it to stick to the wood, and the door slams shut on its own. Everything returns to normal, and that sacred cloth was probably given to me by Som. After this, Mi quickly puts Hem in the car, and she drives towards Sam's house. She relays everything Sam had told her, explaining how Kaew's spirit is targeting everyone connected to her death, meaning Won is in grave danger too. Now, both of them go to Sam's house. Over there, Hem was acting extremely bizarre. Observing this, Sam immediately deduces the problem, knowing that Kaew's spirit has possessed Hem as well. He performs a ritual. The ritual successfully expels Kaew from Hem's body. This process leaves white spots all over Hem's body. When Mi inquires about them, Sam explains. He says those white marks appear whenever he channels his mystical powers. Afterward, he keeps Hem under his protection. He informs me about the next step, explaining that to destroy Kaew's spirit, they must perform an ancient execution ritual. If a person is executed and their soul turns vengeful, their spirit can only be put to rest using a specific weapon. It must be the exact weapon that took their life, which, in Kaew's case, meant the specific bullets. These were the bullets Phantom had earlier extracted from the execution post, and these would also serve as a shield. He then hands one bullet to me, stating that he will use the remaining bullets later. Following this, Mi rushes to Won, wanting to tell her everything, and we are shown a flashback. In the flashback, Won was handing over the engagement rings. These were the rings for Hem and Mi's engagement, the very rings Hem had once promised to give Kaew for their own engagement, meaning the rings that Kaew and Hem were supposed to exchange. But now, Mi was going to wear them instead. Hearing this had completely broken Kaew's heart back then, and in reality, that was the exact moment, after which Kaew entirely lost her mental stability. Anyway, Mi gives that bullet to Won, and she asks her a question. She asks if she burned all of Kaew's belongings. So Won replies that she burned all the belongings. But she admits she hadn't gone to Kaew's house, because she was terrified. Then, Mi quickly heads over to Kaew's house nearby, finding the police already there. This was because someone had set fire to all of Kaew's things. When Mi goes inside, she discovers something. She discovers that the door to Kaew's room was stuck shut. However, as Mi approaches, a strange thing happens. The door swings open completely on its own, allowing Mi to enter the room. She searches for anything Kaew deeply treasured, since spirits often anchor themselves to item they loved. But Mi finds no such item there, except for a photograph of Kaew and Hem, which reveals the truth that Hem had betrayed Kaew. Mi had absolutely no idea about this until now, which explains exactly why Kaew's spirit wanted revenge on Hem. Anyway, Mi burns the photograph, which infuriates Kaew's spirit. The spirit violently shatters the windows, forcing Mi to flee the house. Meanwhile, back at Won's shop, we find Pin. He had escaped and come here. He was setting the entire place on fire, having tied Won up tightly. Here, a shocking revelation unfolds. Pin was burning down the shop because of his past actions. He was the one who went to Kaew's house and burned all her belongings, yet Kaew was still relentlessly haunting him. This left him completely clueless on what to do, so Kaew whispers into Pin's mind. She tells him that burning Won alive would finally make everything right, meaning she double-crossed him here. This prompts Pin to drag Won upstairs, and he locks her inside a room. Kaew watched Won intently through the window. What happens next is a mistake by Won. The special protective bullet slips from Won's hand, and she reaches down to pick it up. But Kaew stops her from grabbing the bullet, and she begins attacking Won brutally. So, Won somehow scrambles up, trying to run away from there. However, Kaew lifts Won up, and she hurls her down the stairs. This snaps Won's neck and kills her instantly. Pin then hangs himself using his own belt. By the time Mi arrives at the scene, it was already far too late. Terrified, Mi rushes to Phantom and Sam. This prompts Sam to conduct a ritual, melting down those execution bullets to forge new ones. He loads them into his pistol. Following this, Sam, Phantom, Mi, and Hem head to the prison. This was because they needed to perform the ritual, having to perform the ancient execution ritual at the exact spot where Kaew died, meaning right inside the execution chamber. Mi finally demands the absolute truth from Hem. She asks why Kaew was relentlessly targeting Won. Hem confesses the truth, saying that as Kaew's mental health progressively deteriorated, Won used to lock Kaew away in a room. It was the exact same room where Pin had just trapped Won, meaning the spirit was recreating everything inflicted upon her. She wanted to make everyone feel the exact horrors she endured, and Won used to torture Kaew severely, which was incredibly wrong. If Hem knew what his sister Won was doing, he should have never allowed it. He should have protected the woman he loved, making Hem just as much of a culprit as Won was. And we also learn another thing, showing Hem hadn't been fully honest with me. Though me already knew the truth, knowing that Kaew was his ex-girlfriend. After this, they all enter the execution chamber, and me was holding the gun loaded with the special bullets. Inside the execution chamber, Sam commences the ritual. Meanwhile, Kaew begins trapping them all inside her illusions. She makes it appear as though she herself is bound to the execution post, but it was actually me whom Phantom was about to shoot. Hem tries to stop him, but the gun fires anyway, though me remains unharmed, because the bullet completely missed her. However, Kaew, disguised as me, was standing right next to Hem, staring intently at the wedding ring on his finger. This allows Sam to instantly realize the anchor. He understands that the cherished item anchoring Kaew's spirit all this time was none other than the wedding ring. Anyway, we then see the next horror, and Kaew's spirit had bound Hem to the execution post. Hem desperately struggles to slip off his wedding ring, since the spirit was anchored directly to it. With Kaew's spirit standing right in front of Hem, Phantom begins firing at her using those special bullets. But by then, Hem manages to pull off the ring, and the ring drops to the floor. Yet, Kaew's spirit remains completely unaffected, flying into a blind rage and letting out a deafening shriek. The scream inflicts agonizing pain on everyone, prompting Phantom to start praying. He attempts to suppress Kaew's spirit. However, Kaew's spirit binds Phantom with heavy chains. Despite this, Phantom continuously tries to pray, and Sam rushes over to assist him. But Kaew's spirit had grown far too vengeful and powerful. Consequently, Sam grows weak, and ultimately, Kaew's spirit ties Phantom to the execution post, and she shoots him dead. Sam now tries to retrieve the ring to destroy it, but Kaew's spirit lifts Sam up. She hurls him across the room, and this causes Sam to cough up blood. He was left completely out of options. Therefore, he draws a mystical symbol using his own blood. He traps Kaew's spirit inside his own body. Then he yells at me to shoot him, as it was the only remaining way to destroy Kaew's spirit, and me agrees to comply. But just in the nick of time, Hem frees himself from the post and smashes his wedding ring. This forces Kaew's spirit out of Sam's body, and then me immediately shoots Kaew's spirit with the special bullets. Finally, everything becomes quiet. Now all of them snap out of the illusion. They come out of the illusion created by Kaew's spirit. However, Phantom was already dead. So, Sam tells me and Hem to leave the premises, and the two of them start heading out. Anyway, on the way back, Hem tells me something. He says he will become a better person for Kaew's sake. He promises to always do the right thing to make amends for his past mistakes. But right then, a massive, shocking twist hits the storyline. Their car suddenly collides with a bus in a terrible accident, killing both me and Hem instantly, while we see Kaew's name glowing on the ring that was with me, meaning both wedding rings were held close to Kaew's heart, as she had desperately wanted to see those exact rings on her own and Hem's hands on their wedding day, meaning destroying just one ring accomplished nothing, and they needed to destroy both rings to stop her. However, none of these people had managed to understand this crucial detail, meaning Kaew's spirit was still active, and she did this to complete her revenge. Anyway, after this, we are shown Kaew's spirit. She was sitting right beside the corpses of me and Hem. Her eyes gradually returned to normal, since her vengeance was finally complete. There was no anger remaining inside her. Anyway, at the end of the movie, we see the conclusion. We see that after passing away, Kaew and Hem had crossed over into the afterlife. The promise Hem couldn't fulfill in the mortal world was now being kept by him in the afterlife, meaning he will now remain by her side there forever, and boom, with that, the movie comes to an end right here. So guys, this was the story of the movie King Kaew. This is a Thai supernatural horror film that was recently released in 2026, and this movie has been created by drawing inspiration from the real-life legend. It is inspired by the legend of King Kaew, meaning she was the second female inmate in Thailand to be executed by a firing squad, meaning the entire case depicted inside this happened in reality. The kidnapping of the child and everything else that transpired actually occurred. And this girl maintained until the very end that she was innocent. She had done absolutely nothing wrong to anyone. Giving that exact premise a supernatural and horror angle, this film was constructed. So, I have already explained every single detail to you over here. I have made everything perfectly clear. But if you still have any doubts remaining, you can ask in the comments section. I will provide you with an answer as quickly as possible. And if you haven't watched the movie Kaew 2 yet, go ahead and watch it. That one is an incredibly interesting film as well. The soul world is depicted inside it. You will find its link down in the comments section. And don't forget to hype the video. If you swipe right within the comments section, you will see the hype button. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel. Give the video a like. So I will catch you all in the next video. Until then, stay ghostly.